Namaste, hola, and hello. Welcome to English with Jill. My name is Jill, and I am your English teacher. I want to talk about the differences that I've noticed between American culture and Indian culture. A little bit about me. I have traveled to India 4 times now, and my husband is from India. So that is my perspective. I am not an expert on Indian culture. These are just some things that I've noticed and some things I've experienced culture shock about when I go to India. Okay, so the first thing that I've noticed that's different between Indian culture and American culture is families. Indian culture is very family oriented. Oriented meaning it's focused on families. You will see families doing things together. Young people will live with their parents for much longer than younger people in the United States live with their parents. So it's very normal in India to see a 25-year-old man who is not yet married living with his family. The United States is very individual oriented. What that means is that we focus on me. So even though there are many lovely families here, it is very common to see Americans and meet Americans that don't speak with their family anymore for many reasons. And we have this perspective that you are able to make your own family. So if you have parents who don't accept something in your life that is very important to you, like your sexual orientation, your religion, if you have different political opinions, you might hear of an American that decides to leave their house or decides to cut their family out of their life because they want to be happy and they want to be themselves. Number 2, driving. In the United States, cars are very important to us. It is a big part of our culture to have a car, maybe 2, maybe 3, and drive around in the car. In Indian culture, as with many other places in Europe, in Asia, driving is not as important. There are people who have driver's licenses and who do drive, but driving is viewed as just a way to get from here to there. In American culture, driving is much more than that. We really love our road trips. This is a big pastime for families especially. You'll also notice if you visit the United States that public transportation is not as common here. In very large cities like New York or Chicago or somewhat San Francisco, there is some public transport. There are buses and some trains that will get you across the city. But in other cities, there might not be much public transport at all. And if you are visiting the United States, you most likely will have to fly from one city to another. That is the fastest way to get somewhere else instead of driving. So we have many roads, and we have great roads. They are paved very well and they are maintained, mostly. It depends on where you are. Driving in India is much more difficult because of the conditions of the roads. Many people cannot afford to have a car, and trains are so much more convenient. Number 3, films. Films are very different in the United States and India. I love Bollywood films, and I understand there are many other types of films that are made in India, but I mostly watch Bollywood films. Bollywood films tend to be musicals. Sometimes they're a little predictable in what will happen, especially if it's a romantic comedy. I can predict what's going to happen. American films have some similarities between Indian films, but for the most part, they are not going to be musicals. There are no large musical dance numbers in most American films, unless it is specifically a musical, and that's the draw of the film. What's very surprising is that I will be watching a drama that is a Bollywood drama, and then there's a montage and the actor's looking sad and they have this music overplaying, and that's very normal for Indian films. But for me, it feels so out of place to have such a I don't know, a break in the film of this dramatic police mystery, and then there's a song. American films don't do this for the most part. You also have many films coming out every year. This is one thing that's in common between American and Indian film industries. But the American industry, we have more independent films, so you can go to a movie theater and watch only independent films there. Something else I've noticed in Indian films is that everyone seems to know each other or be related. There is, a famous actor, Amitabh Bachchan, and then his 3 sons are also actors. Or I'll find a new actor and I won't know them, and then it turns out they're related to some other famous actor. This happens in American cinema as well. It just feels like it happens a lot more in India. I don't know why. And another thing to note, if you come to the United States and you watch a movie, there's not going to be an intermission. Number 4, street food. Street food is fantastic in India. One of my favorite things to do is to spend a whole day walking around and finding new street food, things I've never tried before. In the United States, we do not have street food. It just doesn't really exist here. The closest that we have is hot dog stands and pretzels. That's pretty much it. It varies from city to city. Some big cities, you might have someone selling tamales or something on the street, but it's pretty rare. We have food trucks. Food trucks are becoming more and more popular, and they're similar to street food, but it's in a van, and of course it moves around to different places. So it's unlike in India where you know that your chai wala is going to be on that corner every single day, and you can stop there at lunch to get your chai. In the United States, maybe you have a food truck you really like, but it might not always be in the same place. So if you come to the United States hoping to get really good street food, unfortunately, it's not really a thing here. Our restaurant scene is fantastic, but it can be expensive. Number 5, speaking of expensive, let's talk about money. India is just cheaper. It's a cheaper place compared to the United States. Food is cheaper, healthcare is cheaper, education is cheaper, public transport, the list goes on and on. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Some Americans earn more money than people do in India. Another reason is because the United States does not have standardized healthcare. So I really, really love visiting India because it is so much cheaper. And I know that I can buy as much food as I want to, or I can buy new clothes, and I'm not going to break my bank account. From what I've seen, the only things that are cheaper in the United States than in India are designer items, like a designer handbag or an Apple product, something that is either made in Europe or made in the United States. It's going to be cheaper here because maybe taxes, something about it being shipped overseas makes it a little bit more expensive when it's sold in India than when it's sold here. Another thing to do with money is that in India, paying with cash is the easiest way to pay for things. You need to have quite a bit of cash on you if you plan to do a lot of shopping. Only at very large stores and department stores can you pay with credit cards. The trains I've been on, I think I bought my tickets online with a credit card, but if I'm taking a smaller local train, I don't believe that you can. Whereas in the United States, almost everything is bought with a credit card. You can get on your local city tram and buy a ticket with a credit card. Some things you can buy at stores with Apple Pay. That's not to say that you can't use cash, but you don't need to carry quite as much cash with you. Number 6, so American subtleties. What that means is that Americans are not going to be direct with you. They are not going to tell you directly to your face, I didn't like that, or I don't like this. They are going to be more subtle about it. They are going to try to be polite and say something that won't hurt your feelings. Even if the thing that they didn't like was something that you made, they just won't come out and tell you this needs to be better. They'll say it in a more polite way, like, yeah, it's great. I just think that it, needs some improvements. Or, that movie, it wasn't my favorite. In India, what I've seen is people are very direct. Not to say that they are rude, but I have had some conversations with people where they were very direct about what they thought about me. And it's really, really strange to hear that come from someone that you don't even know as an American. Here, if I'm speaking with a stranger, some people might be direct if that's their personality, but for the most part, if the person doesn't like you, they're not going to say they don't like you, they'll just end the conversation. Maybe they think you're attractive, maybe they do like you. They'll try to hint at that in more subtle ways. In India, though, I didn't find this to be the case. They are very direct. Is that person your husband? Is that person your boyfriend? They just ask you directly. What hotel are you staying at? Where are you from? There's lots of questions because they want to know who you are. They're curious. And lastly, number 7, staring. Indians will stare at you if you do not look like you live in the city. I obviously don't look Indian, so when I go to India, I get stared at all the time. And it took me a while to get used to this. Because in the United States, if you look at someone and you make eye contact with them, the normal thing that most people do is they look away. One person will break the eye contact because it makes them uncomfortable to stare at another person that they don't know. In India, this is not the case. They will stare, I'll see that they're staring at me, and they will continue to look. And I'm the one who has to look away because I feel so uncomfortable with direct eye contact with someone. If you are Indian and you're coming to the United States for the first time, be aware of this. You might be used to staring at things that are strange to you or that are different. And it's okay to look. In the United States, you might take a glance, but try to look away. If they notice that you're staring and if you continue to stare, some people might get offended by that, and some people might approach you and ask you, what are you staring at? What are you doing? So be mindful and try to be polite for American society and look away. Those are the differences that I've noticed between American culture and Indian culture. If you have more to add to this list, please leave a comment below saying what differences have you noticed between your culture and Indian culture if you've been to India. If you are from India and you have more to add to this list, or you disagree with one of the differences that I've pointed out, let me know. I'd love to hear about your experiences. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you found this video useful and if you would like to improve your English. Adios, namaste, and goodbye.